So in the meantime, I suppose we could do this theoretically, meaning without the, at least without the pages in front of us. We, in this particular lesson, which is الدرس التاسع والعشرون, we introduced some of the points that were in the lesson. This whole lesson is actually about those af'al, those verbs that share the last two letters, meaning the last two letters, the ain and the lam of the kalima, are the same, or what is known as min jinsin wahid. And an example of that, hopefully I can annotate. Let's see if I can annotate. No, I'm not even able to do that. Okay. No problem. An example of that is with the verb. Well, let me ask you guys. Can someone give me an example of a verb that has the ain and the lam of the kalima identical or the same? Can you think of a verb like that? Abu Hassan, can you think of a verb like that?
Ain or lam?
Yeah, so one of the sisters just said sin, ba, and ba. So that word actually is sababa, sababa.
Akala?
Akala, the ain of the kalima, or the fa of the kalima is alif, is hamza, right? The ain of the kalima is kaf. And the lam of the kalima is lam. So those last two letters are not the same, right?
Okay.
But we need the last two letters to be the same.
Oh, last two. Okay.
But I think you were hinting to your wife by using that verb. Maybe you're hungry or something.
Jazakallah khair.
You have to say it directly. Just say it. You know. Can't use the Arabic letter.
Qassasa?
I hear. So Abu Hassan, yeah, mashallah, gave the correct answer. Qassa is an answer. Qassa.
That's for my wife.
Hey, mashallah. So originally that verb is qasasa, and the mudari' is yaqsusu, yaqsusu. But in order to pronounce it easier, those two letters at the end, because they're the same, they get merged, and a shadda represents that merging, and it becomes qassa yaqussu. Okay, the previous verb, that was the suggestion given by one of the sisters, sabab. In actual fact, yeah. So those two letters, the ba and the ba, put together, the verb becomes sabba. Otherwise, ordinarily, it would be sababa yasbubu, yasbubu, which is difficult to pronounce. So the shadda comes into play, the two letters come together, and it becomes sabba yasubbu, sabba yasubbu, with a sin, not with a sad. There's a different meaning. And in actual fact, this word here, sabba yasubbu, it means to curse, to call someone a bad name. And there's a hadith where the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Sibabul Muslimi fusuqun wa qitaluhu kufrun." Sibabul Muslimi fusuqun wa qitaluhu kufrun. Cursing a Muslim is a transgressive sin, sinful behavior of transgression. and killing him is kufr, a disbelief. Very quickly, the side point that comes over here. This is very interesting because this is what I've always said I said it to you guys in the group before. And that Arabic lessons, when someone decides to teach Arabic, these lessons are not innocent. They're not innocent lessons. Even me, my intention, I'm not innocent. My intention here, teach you Arabic so that you can learn the correct understanding of Islam. And any opportunity to use, or any opportunity for you to pick up a point of benefit Islamically from the Arabic text, from the Arabic that you're learning, so any opportunity for your for you to learn a point of Islamic benefit from the Arabic, then an Arabic teacher generally will not withhold. And this is the reason why it's so important to make sure you learn even the subjects like Arabic, which somebody might say, oh, well, I'm only learning Arabic, I'm not learning my deen. So it's important to learn that from somebody on the Sunnah, because anybody who's not on the Sunnah will intentionally or unintentionally give you some Islamic teachings. And here is a perfect example of that, where I found an opportunity to say to you that murder, even though it comes in this hadith as kufrun, this kufr is of two types. Is not the type that takes a person outside the fold of Islam. And the proof is in the Quran. Allah Ta'ala said, وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا. If two parties amongst the believers fight, اقْتَتَلُوا from qital, from killing each other, then seek to rectify between them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, even though in the hadith, the Prophet said, وَقِتَالُهُ كُفْرٌ, fighting him to kill him is kufr. Here Allah Ta'ala said, when two parties amongst the believers fight to kill each other. So Allah Ta'ala described them as mu'minun. So the ulama said that this shows that kufr is of two types. Kufr amali, as it relates to your actions, which does not take you outside the fold of Islam, and kufr i'tiqadi, which is that of relates to belief, which takes you outside the fold of Islam. And this is what Ibn Abbas intended when he said about the ayah in the Quran, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ, those people who don't judge by other than don't judge by Allah's law, and they judge by other than Allah's law. He said, this is not the kufr that you think. لَيْسَ الْكُفْرَ الَّذِي تَظُنُّونَ بَلْ كُفْرٌ دُونَ كُفْرٍ. But it is a kufr less than kufr, meaning kufr amali. Judging by other than Allah's law is kufr, but not the one that takes you outside the fold of Islam. So the Khawarij and those who follow their path and agree with them, they declare the Muslim leaders as non-Muslims. This is where the point that I was coming to. So look at how one example from the sister, which was Sabba, allowed me to open this avenue of discussion with you guys about the Khawarij and their beliefs and how to refute them. So an Arabic teacher is not innocent from teaching people their Islam. So therefore, do not think that you're going to go into an Arabic lesson with a non-Salafi and come out unscathed or without any misunderstandings of Islam. It may not happen in one lesson, 2 lessons, or 5 lessons, but there will always be an opportunity. And the case is even worse when the person has a strict or clear agenda and he is upon, or she is upon, tasawwuf or another type of bid'ah. Okay, now I'm going to make a stronger effort to get a hold of Ustad Muzammil, because he hasn't seen his message to put me on, to give me the sharing status. So I just want to share the screen so I can start the lesson with you all. So the verb sabba, as we said, means to curse. Sabba yasabbu. Different to sabba with a sod. And yasubbu with a sad. This one, it means to pour, P-O-U-R, to pour, sabba. Sabba, as the example that was given, it doesn't have that meaning. It means to curse. All right, so I will have to call him, inshallah. I was just trying to get hold of somebody, inshallah. And so the other example that was given was madada, mim, dal, dal. And madda, madada, yamdudu. Madda, yamuddu. There's another example which means to stretch out, to outstretch. Allah understand. That's another example that one of the sisters just gave. Dhalla. Dhalla. Yadillu, I think it is, Wallahu a'lam. So another one, exactly one that we had very early on. Dhanna, yadhunnu. All of these are examples. And these are known as al-fi'l al-mudha'af. Al-fi'l al-mudha'af. Okay, so someone just sent a message. Anonymous attendee. I'm not sure if they're still in the class right now. I can't see their name.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Afwan Ustad. Hopefully you should have the access now.
I understand it was Maghrib in Riyadh, and that's why we couldn't get hold of you. It was Maghrib there, yeah? Zamir?
Yes, Ustad, I'm here, yeah.
It was Maghrib, right? Was it Maghrib in Riyadh? Is that why we couldn't get hold of you?
That's right, that's right. We just finished Maghrib, and just one brother, he was talking about the Hajj details. Because
I ended up leaving the room inadvertently.
Right.
When I came back in, I came in and didn't have the didn't have access. Okay. So that was just a quick recap. We were talking about those verbs that share the second and the last letter, the second and the third letter. And this is known as al-fi'l al-mudha'af. الفعل المضاعف. Okay, where is it? Zoom. جيد. الفعل المضاعف, which is that verb where the second and the third letter is doubled. Akhi Abu Hassan asked a question about the meaning of abbatta, and so this is not an example that we have in our lesson today, because this is something that we'll be covering in the next book. This is a form of the verb, which is form 2, fa'ala yufa''ilu, and taf'ilan. Okay, which we haven't covered that form of the verb so far. We haven't spoken actually about the various conjugations of the verb beyond the 3-letter verb. الفعل الثلاثي المجرد. That's what we've been studying all these months and years, possibly. Book 1 and book 2, it only covers the 3-letter verb that does not have any additions to it. Whereas the verb that you gave an example of, that you asked about, Abu Hassan, is abbatta, which is the 3-letter verb that has the addition of 1 letter, where the middle letter is with a shadda. This is called thulathi al-mazid. الفعل الثلاثي المزيد. And it means making them slaves. Fir'aun made Bani Israels into his slaves. And that's what that was referring to. Wallahu a'lam. Okay. So going to where we were last time. Naam is over here. This is where the teacher asked Abdullah to move the board. The teacher said, Man alladhi من الذي دفع السبورة إلى الخلف؟ من الذي دفع, which means to push. من الذي دفع السبورة إلى الخلف? Who is it who pushed the whiteboard back? And then before he gets an answer, he says, Ta'ala, come here. Oh, Sa'id. وَجُرَّهَا. This is the point today. One of the first relevant points of this lesson, in today's lesson. He said, وَجُرَّهَا إِلَى الْأَمَامِ. Drag it forward or pull it forward. Then, Sa'idun يَجُرُّ السَّبُّورَةَ. We got to this point, I think, if I'm not mistaken, last lesson, and I said that I would explain why there is a fatha on this verb jurra. Sa'idun yajurru sabburata. Then the teacher says, Anta jarartaha kathiran. This is the same verb. But notice in this case, the ra and the ra, the ain and the lam of the kalima, they've separated. There's no longer a shadda with them or on them. And they appear in this single form or separate form, separated from each other. Jarartaha kathiran. You have pulled it forward too much. Idfa'ha ila al-khalfi qalilan. Then he said, yakfi utrukha al-ana. That's enough. Leave it now. Okay. So before going anywhere else, let's have a look at these three examples that they've given. One is jurraha. Jurraha ila al-khalfi. And the other one, yajurru. Well, this is easy because we've covered it already. Jarra yajurru. This is the fi'l mudari'. And then this one over here is jarartaha, which is where the letters have become separate from each other. So jurraha, this is the fi'l amr. And the asl of this verb is basically like this. Now, for some reason, the pen that I use on the writing pad is not working. So I'm going to go back to as we used to back in the day, where I used the trackpad to write. So forgive me for the writing, it's going to be bad. So we have here fi'l madi jarra. And then we have, and fi'l madi is the asl is always mabniyun ala al-fath. It always has a fatha at the end, okay? When it's not being joined to any dhamir, it's going to end up with a fatha. Okay, fi'l madi jarra. Then you have yajurru. And as you know, as you will remember, fi'l amr, it comes from fi'l. Does the fi'l amr, is it produced from the fi'l madi or the fi'l mudari'?
مضارع
Pattern. نعم.
فعل مضارع
أيوة أحسنت. From fi'l mudari'. And typically what we do is that we will remove the harf al-mudari' or harf al-mudari'ah, which is in this case is the ya, and we will see whether we can benefit from the haraka on the next letter. Because if the next letter is for example, dhahaba, yadhhabu, yadhhabu. When the second letter has a sukoon on it, after removing the fi'l, after removing the harf al-mudari', then you're left with this letter that starts with a sukoon, so you can't start the word. So therefore, that's when they use the hamza. Yeah, idhhab. So one of the things is to remove the harf al-mudari'. The second one is to add a letter at the beginning if needed, and then put the sukoon on the end, which is to make it majzoom. And the sister asked, isn't the harf al-mudari' supposed to be a ta for anta? Yeah, technically you're right. That's what it is supposed to be, because fi'l amr is for anta. Okay, but when we started to formulate the fi'l amr in the previous lessons, I was just showing how it works and how the fi'l mudari' is related to the fi'l amr, and how you remove the harf mudari', whatever that letter might be, technically it's ta because it means anta. Okay, but in structure, you just remove the first letter and you make it majzoom. Okay, is that, hopefully that's clear on what way, inshallah. So right now you are left with these two letters, the jim and the double ra. Now, what happens? I need to make it majzoom. How do I make this majzoom? Because if you think about it, what is the asl of these two ras? Already, in order to get a shadda, yeah, it was like this. Yajurru. What is the meaning of a shadda? The shadda is two letters coming together. The first of them having a sukoon on it. Okay. Yajruru. Let's get rid of that again. Yajurru. What you can see here right now, yajurru, is the same as what you see over here. The difference is the way that we wrote it. Yajurru with a shadda actually is yajurru, the first letter being with a sukoon, second one being with the dhamma. Okay, so that being the case, now if I want to make yajurru into a fi'l amr, so what am I to do? I need to remove the harf al-mudari' and make the last letter majzoom. And what problem now do I encounter by making the last letter majzoom? Exactly. The sister said, you got two sukoons. And you cannot have two sukoons next to each other. It's not possible. And there's no need to have two letters with the sukoon on it. So how do you get from the first letter to the second letter when the first one has a sukoon? So there's no such thing as jur, there's no such thing. So for that reason, we had to decide what to do with this dhamma, this one here. Can you see it? In order to represent fi'l amr, we had to decide what to do with it. The Arabs had to decide what to do with it. So they said, okay, if we make it a dhamma, then that's a problem because the dhamma is the sign, the asl of the fi'l mudari', which is marfu'. And we haven't made any changes therefore. And we have to make a change to make it known that this is fi'l amr. So dhamma is out. Dhamma is out and the sukoon is out. Okay, why can we put a kasra? No, we can't put a kasra because kasra is from the khasa'is of al-asma. It's a haraka which is specific to nouns. If you see a word that has a kasra on it, as Ibn al-Ajurrum said, then you know that this is a noun. Because the noun, the ism, it has some distinguishing signs. What are they? That it accepts alif wal lam, that it accepts harf wal jar, that it accepts a kasra. These are some of those things which are specific. Yeah, that it can sit in a position of being majroor. These are specific for nouns, and therefore, with if a word has a kasra, you know it's definitely not a fi'l. It's not a verb. So you're not going to therefore have a kasra on this fi'l amr because it negates the fi'liyah of this verb. It takes it out of it. You're contending with its verb if that's such a word, or with it being a verb. So what's the only haraka left? Can't do sukoon because it's iltiqa sakinain. You can't do dhamma because that means you didn't change anything actually. You still got fi'l mudari' in its original form, the marfu'. You can't do kasra because that's specific for asma. So what's left? Fatha. So that's why you see over here, the teacher said to Sa'id, Ya Sa'id, jurraha. Jurra, this is fi'l amr. This is fi'l amr. So this dhamma over here gets changed to a fatha and jurra. So when you have al-fi'l al-mudha'af, which is that fi'l that has those two letters which are doubled and they are the same as each other. Al-fi'l al-mudha'af. Afwan for the writing, apologize. Using the trackpad. Al-fi'l al-mudha'af. That's not acceptable. Writing this is terrible. Al-fi'l al-mudha'af. When you have that and you want to have produce a fi'l amr, then the last letter is going to have a fatha on it with a shadda. Okay? And then we come to the second point of discussion, and that is here. Jarra, yajurru. So we know that this is fi'l mudha'af and that you're supposed to join those two letters together. But is it possible ever to separate those letters and pronounce them individually? Yes, it is at certain times when you add a dhamir muttasil, as you can see over here. This dhamir ta is being added, and it's going to be difficult to say anything except jarar ta. Because if you were to go for the original jarra fi'l madi, and you want to add a dhamir mukhatab, anta, how would you say it? Jarrata, jarta is difficult without compromising the number of letters in that verb. So they said the best thing and the easiest thing is to go back to the asl, to separate the letters each in its original place, and you say jarar ta, dhahab ta, akal ta, fa'al ta, like that, the same way as you had done it before. طيب. I think now you're going to see a few more examples of fi'l amr. And also examples of how the letters are separated. So let me get a reader, please, to read from here. We need a Mas'ud and we need a Mudarris. I think it's sufficient to have two readers. One to read Mudarris and the other one to read the other text. So if you want to read, put your hand up, please. If you're happy to read. Obviously, it's going to be from the brothers. Okay, Atif is okay to read. One more reader, please. And Sadiq has raised his hand. Ahsantu barakallahu fikum. Afwan akhi Abdul Kareem, inshallah, if there's time, we'll get you to read. Atif, if you could read Mas'ud and all of the other, anyone who's not Mudarris, okay? Atif, you read, please raise your voice. Notice that your microphone is a bit low. And then Sadiq, you could read Al-Mudarris, please. Go ahead, akhi Atif.
أهذا هو الجزء الثاني من الكتاب يا أستاذ.
Again, please.
أهذا هو الجزء الثاني من الكتاب يا أستاذ.
Okay, so here, just to have a quick look at what you read, I want you to pronounce this lam. Why? Because this jim, is it harf qamari or harf shamsi? Do we say al-juz or al-juz?
الجزء
Al. So you will say هذا هو
الجزء
هو
الثاني
الجزء and then this is Shamsi. You have to read with the shadda because the shadda shows you that there's alif lam before it. But I almost heard you say huwa juz thani, almost like the alif lam wasn't pronounced. Okay, so you will say هذا هو الجزء الثاني من الكتاب يا أستاذ, and then you will read that dhamma at the end for learning purposes. Go ahead, Akhi. Again, please, once more.
هذا هو الجزء الثاني من الكتاب يا أستاذ.
أحسنت بارك الله فيك ما شاء الله, it made a massive difference. أحسنت. تفضل أخي صادق.
الله فيكم. نعم، خذ هذه النسخة، خذ هذه النسخة وأدها. أعددتها؟ كم هي؟
أحسنت بارك الله فيك. Okay, I have a question. A few minutes ago, and for approximately 5 minutes, I was talking to you about how the fi'l amr, in that case of the fi'l mudha'af, it requires a fatha. Why all of a sudden now do we see that this fi'l amr has got a sukoon?
It's not مضاعف.
It's not fi'l mudha'af. Exactly. It's not because it's not fi'l mudha'af. It's from the verb akhadha ya'khudhu. Akhadha ya'khudhu. Okay, I want to apologize again because of the trackpad of the writing. Okay, I'm not sure if that's actually clear now. أخذ يأخذ. Okay, and now here we want to make this into fi'l amr. What do we do? The first thing is you take away the harf al-mudari, and you're left with this hamza that has the sukoon on it, and the kha يأخذ. You want to make this into majzoom, so you put the sukoon on the end. And now, if you follow the rules strictly, you will put the hamza al-wasl at the beginning, and you will say u'khudh, u'khudh. And obviously, that's very difficult to pronounce. The hamza followed by another hamza. So the Arabs, what did they do? They said, we don't need this at the beginning. Any letter that starts with a hamza, or as the sister said in the notes, mahmuz. If it's mahmuz al-fa, meaning the first letter has a hamza on it, then we'll just drop it all together and begin with the second letter, with the ayn al-kalima, and directly say khudh. Okay? And it's not only actually the letter which is mahmuz. It's in actual fact it's also al-mithal, where the first letter is harf illah. Like for example, wada'a, yada'u. Yeah, that's another example where the yada'u, the harf al-mudari' is removed, and then you're left with the last two letters. Jayyid. Are there any examples of fi'l amr in this line that was just read, where the teacher said to the student what he said?
خذ.
تفضل أخي أبو عيسى. I didn't hear you.
نعم قلت خذ.
Oh, أحسنت. So that's one. Any more examples of fi'l amr in that same line?
عد عد.
أيوة أحسنت نوير. عد. And this is our example because this is fi'l amr, which is majzoom وعلامة جزمه ماذا? The sign of it being majzoom is
فتحة.
فتحة. Why is it فتحة؟ لأن الفعل مضاعف. لأن الفعل مضاعف. Okay. And then the teacher asked the question. Hence you have this Hamzat al-Istifham at the beginning. And then immediately he's got the ain of the fi'l. Or the fa of the ain, the beginning of that verb. أعددتها. أعددتها. And as you can see, another example where the same verb, adda, ya'uddu, is being separated. These letters go in its original place. Adattaha, because of this dhamir muttasil, dhamir mukhatab. Okay? And then the letters are separated. Adattaha. And the verb adda ya'uddu, what does it mean?
Does it mean to count?
Ahsant, Fahad, barakallahu feek. It means to count. And can anyone think of an example in the Quran or in the Sunnah where this verb is being used?
وإن تعدوا نعمة الله لا تحصوها.
الله أكبر بارك الله فيك وأحسن عليك. وإن تعدوا نعمة الله لا تحصوها. If you were to try to enumerate the blessings of Allah, we would not be able to do so. تعدوا comes from عد يعد. نعم. تفضل أخي عاطف.
نعم أعددتها هي 45 نسخة.
أحسنت. نعم عددتها. And here again the same example, same verb being separated. And this is called is mufakkak. It's separated. Each letter in its particular in its place, or they call this tafkik. Tafkik, separating the letters from previously being joined together or merged together. I counted them, and they are 45. Mufakkak or tafkik. Is that what you're asking for, sister? Yeah. Tafkik. Fa, kaf, kaf. Tafkik. I'm having difficulty in writing because of this. I think the nib or the pointer of this electronic pen is broken or something's happened to it, and the replacements are not with me here. So when I get back to Jeddah, inshallah, in some weeks, I'll be able to replace that. Okay. تفضل أخي الكريم.
ندرس الآن حديثا أكتبه على السبورة فاكتبوه في دفاتركم. يكتب عن أنس رضي الله عنه قال ما مسست دباجا ولا حريرا ألين من كف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا شممت رائحة قط أطيب من رائحة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. بعد هنيهة أكتبتم يا أبنائي.
أحسنت بارك الله فيك. الله أكبر. ما أجمل هذا الحديث وما أجمل هذا الوصف من أنس رضي الله عنه لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم اجمعنا به في جنة.
آمين.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه. ندرس الآن حديثا. The teacher said, Now we are studying a hadith. أكتبه على السبورة. I will write it on the board. فاكتبوه في دفاتركم. Write it in your copybooks or your notebooks. I have a question here. That question is, you know that that some words are mamnu' min as-sarf, and you know that the word dafatir is from those words which are mamnu' min as-sarf. Dafatiru, masajidu, fanadiqu. You remember? That's right at the end, towards the end of Madeenah book 1. There's a list of plurals, all of them ending in one dhamma. Mamnu' min as-sarf. If they are mamnu' min as-sarf, they are supposed to be majroor with what?
If say again, Ustad.
Supposed to be
plural.
majroor with what originally? Fatha, right? As the sister just said in the notes.
No.
Majroor bi fatha, because it's mamnu' min as-sarf. So why in this case is there kasra?
It's because it's plural.
For pronunciation.
So singular?
Dafatirikum.
No, it's
Abu
because it's
Isa,
plural.
what's the singular, please?
The singular of the fatir. Is it daftar? I'm not sure.
Daftarun. So is daftarun mamnu' min as-sarf?
No, it's not.
Daftarun. Huh?
I don't know. From what I remember, I don't think it is.
No. Okay, let's put the memory aside and
No.
listen to the word. Daftarun.
No, it's not. No.
It's clearly not, because the word sarf means, in this context, it means tanween.
Yeah.
It means tanween. So mamnu' min sarf means mamnu' min tanween.
No.
So
But I was saying.
daftarun is not.
Mhm.
Aywa, go ahead.
Sorry, I was saying it's. I think it's kasra because if it's in a plural form, and it's a harf jar before it, it takes it. Like for example, the ayah in the Quran, it says, "وأنتم في المساجد," I think, and then because they said
وأنتم
that.
عاكفون في المساجد.
I think so, yeah.
أبو عيسى.
نعم.
أحسنت أخي بارك الله فيك. شوف يا أخي.
نعم.
The difference, the example you gave, it doesn't match. Why? Because that one is with alif lam, al masajid.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So al masajid doesn't take a tanween anyway because of alif lam, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So that's why the dhamma which is on al masajidu, that's not the dhamma of which is of mamnu' min as-sarf. That's because of alif lam. So that's not our example. But you actually, in actual fact, you are not far off. You are, تحول حول الحمى.
Okay.
Going around
Is
it because of mudaf?
أيوة, Habib gives the answer. Is ممنوع من الصرف. When it is mudaf, then it loses that ruling. Okay, it loses the ruling. And there is some relationship between what Habib just said and what Fahad was saying, or what Abu Isa was saying earlier. And because the mudaf, when it is mudaf to a ma'rifah, as is the case over here, because all of the dama'ir ma'arif, the dama'ir, all of them are definite. They're not indefinites. So the mudaf, when it was, because it was joined onto a dhamir, it also becomes ma'rifah. Just like al-masajid with alif lam is ma'rifah, and it can take a kasra because of alif lam. This is like we are saying ad-dafatir, fit dafatiri. Allahu alam, that could be the reason why the kasra is allowed to appear on a word which is mamnu' min as-sarf when it is mudaf. When it is mudaf. Whenever a word mamnu' min as-sarf is mudaf, then it can take, it will take a kasra. Okay? Now, I'll ask you a question.
Well, Ustad, sorry.
Hey,
Can I go back? Sorry to prolong the point, but
it's okay.
masajidu, is it mamnu' min al-sarf?
It is.
So if I was to say, if I was to say like fil masajida, would it not be fil masajida with kasra? So was my point still wrong if I was to say, because you're saying mamnu' min al-sarf, but if it's mamnu' min al-sarf, it will take fatha, but because it's plural, I'm saying it took a kasra.
You keep saying one word, which is plural.
Yeah.
The word daftarun in singular, it's not mamnu' min al-sarf. The word masjidun in singular is not mamnu' min al-sarf. It only becomes mamnu' min al-sarf when it's jam', when it's plural.
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah.
Alas,
No.
but that plural is mamnu' min al-sarf when there's no alif or lam, when it's supposed to take a tanween. It doesn't take a tanween when it's supposed to. But with alif or lam, it's not supposed to take a tanween. It only takes one dhamma anyway. So it's out of the discussion. It's not in the discussion.
I'll message you privately afterwards, inshallah.
Say that again?
I said I'll message you privately afterwards, inshallah.
No, this is an important point. We have to take it in the class, inshallah.
Oh. I don't want to prolong it for the brothers.
Okay, khalas, la ba'as, inshallah. We'll have the opportunity to meet and discuss it. Okay, so in any case, to make it clearer, hopefully, if you look at those plurals in Madeenah Book 1, right near the end, it shows you a list, and they have a similar pattern. Dafatiru, makatibu, masajidu, fanadiqu. Okay, all of them are mamnu' min al-sarf. Mamnu' min al-sarf means mamnu' min al-tanween. They cannot take tanween. Khalas? So if a harful jar comes before them, you say dhahabtu ila fanadiqa. I went to some hotels. dhahabtu ila fanadiqa fi Turkiya. I went to some hotels in Turkey. Okay? That's different to saying dhahabtu ila fanadiki Turkiya. Mamnu' mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. I went to the hotels of Turkey. Okay, ذهبت إلى ذهبت مع, what's the word that we have? What's the examples we have? Masajidu, dafatiru, fanadiku, and anyway, khairan inshallah. Mamnu' min al-sarf. When it is mudaf, the kasra appears if needed. Required. طيب. So what's the purpose of this particular hadith being shown, this beautiful hadith? Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu said, I did not touch, this is masistu, from massa yamussu or massa yamissu. Ma masistu dibajan wala hariran. Dibaj, Allahu alam, is translated as is velvet. And harir is silk. I did not touch. I never touched dibajan, velvet or silk. Al-yana. And this is ism tafdeel. Ism tafdeel. You guys remember ism tafdeel? Khalidun atwalu min Junaydin. أطول أكبر سيارتي أكبر من سيارتك وأطول من سيارتك. So it should have a dhamma on it. So why in this case is there a fatha on the end? No, yes, sister, the verb is la, lam, ya, and nun. La, ya, na. Yes, it is. Or la, na. You'll probably find it in the dictionary under lam, ya, and nun. Why is it fatha, guys? Or sisters?
النعت
It is, you're very close. Not, you know, I think it is not. If either it's not or it's badal. Allah Alam. He said no. That's why my first inclination was. I think Liana, I think you're right. I think it is not. Afwan. Inam. So an alyana means from a lean softness. ما مسست ديباجا ولا حريرا ألين من كف رسول الله. I did not touch any velvet or silk that was softer than the hand, the palm. Kaf is the palm of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. ولا شممت, and I did not smell. I have not ever smelt رائحة, a smell. قط, قط means ever. If you ever see the word قط, it means ever. I never smelt a smell أطيب من رائحة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, more or purer or better or sweeter than the fragrance or the smell of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then the teacher said, then over here you see this word hunayha, ba'da hunayhatin, short while. Hunayha means a short time. He asked them, akatabtum ya abna'i, have you written it? Okay, the purpose of this hadith being mentioned here, what's the purpose? Please, someone tell me. Why does the teacher want to mention this hadith?
Masistu, Shamimtu.
Barakallahu feek. Masistu and shamimtu, to show that the verb massa and shamma, which is mudha'af, when it is presented with a dhamir muttasil, then the letters will separate. They will become mufakkaka, okay, or a tafkik. I think we're going to stop there because we've taken quite a long time. So we'll stop there. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. We've gone over the designated time. And bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, we will have to continue, inshallah, from the same point next lesson, inshallah, which I suspect is not going to be next Wednesday because I think people are going to be busy with Eid on Tuesday and then going over to Wednesday with sacrificing and distributing meat and things like that, alhamdulillah, which is one of the outward aspects of Islam, visible sha'air of Islam. And this is a good point to remind each other. It is important to revive the sunnah of sacrificing animals, even though we know the ruling may not be an obligation. It may be a strongly recommended sunnah. If a person misses it, for example, maybe he's not sinful. But if a whole community misses it, then this would be problematic, because this is one of the outward aspects, the visible aspects of Islam, known as the sha'air, al-dhahira, those things which Islam is recognized by. On Eid, we sacrifice animals and we eat meat and distribute meat. This is a way of celebrating Eid al-Adha. And therefore, sending money to other countries doesn't fulfill that outward rite. That ritual which is outward, which is visible, is no longer seen. And your children, there are families, they've gone through a whole lifetime never having known that people sacrifice on Eid al-Adha, or the relevance or the significance of sacrifice to Eid al-Adha. And therefore it becomes strange to them. So I would encourage all my brothers and sisters, anyone who's sacrificing this Eid, sacrifice in your hometown as far as possible, and distribute the meat amongst and eat the meat. As Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, وَكُلُوا مِنْهَا وَأَطْعِمُوا الْبَائِسَ الْفَقِيرَ, and feed the poor. So this is Shaykh Uthaymeen says, this ayah is an indication. As some scholars said, he says, that eating from the meat of your sacrifice is a wajib, because Allah commanded it. وَكُلُوا مِنْهَا or فَكُلُوا مِنْهَا. Eat from it. So how can you eat from it if you send it to a poor country for them to eat? Rather, you should be eating as far as possible to do. And this is also a means of reviving the sunnah in your locality, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Even if the prices are a bit more expensive, no harm. Sheikh Salih Fawzan says it's permissible to take out a loan, to borrow money for the purpose of sacrificing on Eid al-Adha. Okay, so therefore I strongly encourage you all to do so, and do so in a visible manner. People should see that there is meat being distributed, meat being eaten. A couple of questions. Al-yana comes from the word lean or layyin, which means soft. Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he spoke to Aisha that day, radiyallahu anha, when the Jews said, Assalamu alaikum, and he said, Wa alaikum. And she said, Wa alaikum assam wal la'na wa ghadabun min Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ said to her, Ya Aisha, he said to her, I forget the words that he said to her, but you didn't need to reply in this way. She said, did you not hear what they said? They said, may death be upon you, O Messenger of Allah. And he said to her, did you not hear what I said? I said, wa alaykum, and upon you. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, Ma kana al-leenu fi shay'in illa zanahu, wa la nuzi'a min shay'in illa, what was it? Shanahu. Never is softness placed into a matter except that it beautifies it. Never is it removed from a matter except that it disfigures it. So this is the word al-yanu from lean or layyin. Tafkik, sister asks, it means to separate those things which were previously joined together. Okay. And Abu Hassan says the word atyab has a fatha too, na'at or badal, exactly. Let's have a check of that. Ahsantu barakallahu feek. Al-yana wala ما مسست ديباجا ولا حريرا. الينا من كف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا شممت رائحة قط أطيب رائحة أطيب. Yeah, أطيب seems to be na'at of رائحة. أطيب seems to be a na'at of رائحة. والله أعلم. I didn't get that last comment. Mad Aleen. One sister made a comment, but I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment. I missed it. Forgive me. We'll stop there. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala and continue next time, inshallah. Likely in a couple of weeks. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Wallahu a'lam. Unless we're able to fit a day in somewhere else, we'll consult with Ustad Muzammil. Bi'idhnillah. والله أعلم وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
جزاك الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Okay, so one person asked a question, I just saw it now, going back to the point of double kasra. So sorry, double sukoon. Doesn't sukoon and sukoon become kasra? That is the case when they are on two separate words. The end of one word and the beginning of a next word. In order to join them together, the first sukoon will take a kasra. That is called iltiqa as-sakinain, or because of two sukoons meeting. So that's possible to happen in two separate words. The last letter of that word happens to have a kasra. The first letter of this word happens to have the the last letter of the previous word happens to have a sukoon, and the first letter of the next word happens also to have a sukoon. Now, what do you do in that situation? You have to, in order to get the movement between them and connect them, you use a kasrah. Okay, and that's not the example that we have with al-fi'l al-muda'af and changing it to fi'l amr. It doesn't fit that same description. طيب. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.